Good morning, race fans, and welcome back to the Metro Ford Cup Series here at the virtual Chicagoland Speedway. It's going to be another great race here in Chicago with some of the best in the business. As always, I'm your host, James East with Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, bringing the action 1080p, 60 frames a second, and a single car qualifying currently underway. Let's take a look and see who may be out on track and making some moves. Looks like Kevin Strandberg starting qualifying the number 58 machine. Let's see what he can do as we try and get some audio out of that machine. Now, my apologies in advance to the fans at home. My voice a little bit hoarse this morning, but we're going to get through rock and roll and make the show the best it can be. As the Metro Ford drivers, always a lot of fun to watch on a Sunday morning. Minimum age of 35 years and a whole lot of clean riding. Strandberg starting his opening lap. Let's see, I'm not seeing many triple-digit drivers out on track. We've got Dan Hill in the 112, I believe, is our only triple-digit. So he will be starting. Ooh, yeah, a little bit of contact with the wall. So Hill will be starting towards the back with a triple digit, unable to qualify as he earns his stripes, so to speak, at the Metro Ford Cup Series. Let's check on Ogle, the number 11 machine, going out late in qualifying. The number 11 White Claw Seltzer-backed Ford usually goes out pretty late into qualifying, looking for a little bit cooler track temp. As always, let us know where you're from, who you're cheering for, but we can make sure you get the shout out during the broadcast that you expect. And look at that. Ogle in the number 11 machine. Liberace puts it on pole with a 30.92, edging out McDaniel by 0.07 of a second. But it'll be interesting as you got some other fast guys. Rice, Hess, Glass, MacArthur all out on track, as it looks like Robinson's going to go out very late here for qualifying, as Ogle sitting on pole for one of the first times this season. MacArthur rolls around the 83 Chevrolet. And as we have time is qualifying, thank you all so much, everybody that tunes in week and week out. We couldn't do it without you guys. I appreciate it, as well as the racers. Always great seeing the fans come out, either commentating the broadcast or talking back and forth. It's great to see it a family affair. Ogle right now holding on to pole position. MacArthur not getting the run he was really looking for, running 7th on his opening time lap. Can he improve on a 31.14 as he crosses the start-finish line? And he will. A 30.86. MacArthur dethroning Ogle. But let's see what Robinson can do here. Robinson always quick in qualifying. His first lap, a 30.88. Clint Rice moves all the way up to 4th as well, looking off at 30.97, but now we've got to see, will Robinson be able to improve on that second lap time? He's got to find 0.02 of a second here at Chicago to take over the top spot. And Robinson will do just that, a 30.79. Finding a whole lot of time. And looks like that's going to be our running order to start things off here tonight in Chicago. Let's go ahead and grid them up for today's feature events. Josh Robinson starting on pole. Dwayne McCarthy starts second. Tom Ogle starting third. Clint Rice starting fourth. Greg McDaniel starting fifth. Dakota Pischke sixth on the grid. Craig Bell starting seventh. Andrew Hess starting eighth. We've got Lloyd Moore starting ninth. John Hinchcliffe 10th on the grid. Brian Lindsay starting 11th. Michael Watts starting 12th. Kevin Strandberg starts 13th. Lee Warsdell 14th. Al Turner starting 15th. Chris Walsh starting 16th. William Fletcher starts 17th. Jeff Lyden starting 18th. Mike Schrader starts 19th. Joey Buscemi starts 20th. Joe Brown starting 21st. Dale Copeland starts 22nd. Carl Burke starting 23rd. Brian Glass starts 24th. We got Robert Garisco starting 25th. Larry Corey starting 26th. King Gear starting 27th. Dode Hoskins 28th. Michael Dow starts 29th. Dan Hill starting 30th. Ken Huff starts 31st. Brian Lynch starting 32nd. Eddie Jones starting 33rd. Rick Nitz starting 34th. Bert Dodson starting 35th. Jeff Hayworth starting 36th. And that will round out the grid here today as we get ready to send them out at Chicagoland. Looks like a couple of the admins late to the race. And we're going to get them rolling out here. Let's see what the older Titans can do out here in Chicago. Got a little bit of smoke towards the back. There's the grid. Oh, somebody's sleeping back there. That ahead of Hoskins. Oh, there they go. Somebody just got moved out of the way. Somebody takes a tow back to pit road. Very odd. Not used to seeing that out here, that's for sure. I think that may have been Lee Warsdell or Larry Corey that jumped to pit road. Jeff Hayworth showing us that did not grid. We've got Dwayne McCarthy briefly joining us in chat before he gets back out on track. Dustin Martinson also joining us on the YouTube side of things. Now, today we're simulcast both on YouTube and on Twitch. Some good eyes on a great league. Away they go. Robinson on the front row, MacArthur your second row, but Tom Ogle going to slide on up into number 11 machine ahead of MacArthur as they make their way through 1 and 2. You can hear how much these drivers are already lifting. As the number 20 machine of Clint Rice running fourth on track, trying to work his way up towards the front. Robinson linked up with his teammate Ogle. Ogle said, you know what, maybe we can battle it out early. We still have the tire wear to play with. Ogle takes over the race lead from Robinson. Robin sees the 83 of MacArthur in his rearview mirror. Now these drivers will have a little bit of time to play with, but already they're going to have traffic to contend with. I think that maybe Lynch, number 15 machine. Not sure if Lynch had a penalty here tonight or maybe had some big moment. But very shortly, Ogle's going to have traffic to contend with as he's got a lot of fast and previous winners right behind him. Now Robinson still looking for his first win of the season, as well as Ogle looking for a win. So far, it's Dwayne McCarthy winning the opening 2 rounds. Eddie Jones picks up 2 wins so far this season, and Jason Higginbotham won just a couple of short weeks ago at Phoenix. So 5 different races, only 3 different winners. Be interesting to see if a first-timer brings it out on top here tonight at Chicago. As Ogle see Warsdale in front of him. Warsdale going to hold the line the best he can to avoid getting tied up with the race leaders. You're on board with Tom Liberace Ogle. Like the race leaders getting through nice and easy. Obviously the lag's back by about 2/10, so they should be able to quickly pull Ogle in. Now we're expecting the fuel window to be anywhere between lap 58 and 63 here tonight. But if we go a little bit further back, we've got somebody with an off-track excursion. It's going to be Mike Schrader, number 4 machine. He takes a tow back to pit road to avoid bringing out the caution. So let's see if we can make it to that fuel window under green, as the drivers are saying it's pretty, kind of a handful out here. McArthur has moved up to second ahead of Robinson. And it looks like he's going to start putting the pressure on Ogle here very early. So let's see if that battle comes to fruition, or drivers opt to play it safe and maybe just try and get through a fuel run early on in this event. They've got the tires to play with, but they don't want to use them too early. The drivers were talking about before today's event as well how wicked loose they are on cold tires before they finally get up to temp. So now should be about the time where we're hitting that happy medium. Fresh tires that are warmed up, seeing some very fast lap times. The other thing to keep out for drivers is going to be looking around for a little bit of clean air every now and then. The dirty air, pretty tough on the drivers. So luckily Chicago, a big enough track, you can kind of hop out and get some clean air on your nose, as we see McArthur do down the backstretch. But I wonder if McArthur's going to try and set something up. Yes, he is. Sliding in deep into turn 3, crossing the nose of Ogle, and McArthur will take over the race lead. Just about 11 laps in today's main event. 160 laps on the docket. And no fast repairs available for our drivers. Looks like Ogle's going to have company from his teammate Robinson. Robinson's trying to slide up the inside line. McCarthy, your race leader. Robinson second, Ogle third, Hess fourth, Bell currently fifth out on track. But all but decided is now Robinson. Looks like he wants to take a peek at the inside line of McArthur. Almost an identical move that we saw McArthur make on both Ogle and Robinson earlier on here. Looks like McArthur's going to hold on to it for a little while longer, but man, oh man, McArthur trying to make some moves. Excuse me, Robinson trying to make some moves to take over the race leader from the fast Canadian, Dwayne McArthur. Only 15 laps in, but these drivers aren't necessarily known for taking it easy or taking their time, despite how clean they are. Those guys are here to race, and they're going to do that immediately as they go side by side. Robinson looks at the inside line. Will he get clear of McArthur? I would imagine Ogle, the number 11 machine, is going to try and get up there to support his teammate of Robinson, but anything goes on race day. As Robinson takes over the race lead, McArthur drops to second, and now Ogle will sit squarely in third. Most of these drivers coming off about 31.6, 31.7 second lap times as they still fight amongst each other up here in the top four. Go a little bit further back, you've got John Hinchcliffe running 13th. He's in a battle with Al Turner, 14th. And remember, there was 36 entries here today. In the past, we fielded more than 43 drivers in a race, so not quite as many people coming out here tonight, but still a fairly good showing. So it looks like Clint Wright's going to make a move on Andrew Hess. The move up to fourth in the number 20 machine. Look how much traffic Robinson's about to have to play with. It's going to be Robinson, McArthur, Ogle, as well as Clint Rice in a pretty tidy pack in your top four. But, well, traffic effect, it doesn't look like so. As the number 59 machine, Dodson in the Ford Mustang going very high will allow your race leaders by. Now it looks like Ogle gonna look to the inside line of McArthur once more through 1 and 2. Do wide for a second. This is going to allow Rice to pull up as well. The number 20 machine, as those two competitors punch a massive hole through the air. Rice may have a big run here as he slides up alongside McArthur. So the top three changing slightly. It's Robinson, Ogle, Rice, while McArthur gets edged down to fourth. But I think McArthur's going to try and answer relatively quickly here. He does not want to lose the tail end of the two Team Miata drivers up front. Something going on further towards the back. It shows Ken Huff with an off-track excursion, the number 46 Chevrolet. Able to hold on to it though, so we will still remain going caution-free. As your top four drivers have pulled about 8/10 or so over Andrew Hess. We're about halfway through the fuel run. McArthur in third after battling with Rice. And a little bit of traffic has fallen back to about a half second behind Robinson and Ogle. We're staying linked up here up front. Let's see if McCarthy's going to be able to close the gap. It looks like he's doing so. Already got it down to about a quarter of a second and close it down quickly to 2/10. You're on board with Tom Ogle. He's 2/10 off your race leader and his teammate Josh Robinson. And just like that, the front pack has closed ranks once more. Robinson, Ogle, McArthur, Rice running first through fourth with just shy of a second gap over fifth place Andrew Hess. It's going to be Ogle get another credit for a lap led, just 0.05 of a second ahead of Robinson. I wonder if there's some team orders in play, as maybe they're trying to switch it up to keep track of the fuel mileage so their team can go just a little bit further. The drivers that are swapping back and forth behind him, not having the air on the front of those cars allows you to really stretch the run out here. Always great seeing how spectacular the racing is across the fuel run, even as the tires get heavily burnt in. And the cars get a little bit slower to wiggle around and maneuver. The guys still keep it going. As your top 4 drivers have pulled about a 2-second gap over 5th place. As it is Ogle, Robinson, MacArthur, and Rice. And only MacArthur has a win so far this season. Everybody else inside the top 4 still looking for their first. Let's go a little bit further back to Michael Watts. He's being chased by Greg McDaniel's number 30 machine in the battle for 6th. Kevin Schrenberg slightly out of frame, as well as Brian Lindsay, Crank Bell running out the top 10. As we might have some more action up front, I think MacArthur was looking for a way around Robinson, number 23 machine. You're on the hood, the roof, I should more aptly say, of Glenn MacArthur. MacArthur seems to have backed out of it slightly, but Ogle is going to face about 3 to 4 lap drivers, or soon-to-be lap drivers, right in front of the bright pink number 11 machine. Lap traffic goes high, but hits the wall. Ogle checks up heavily there, not wanting to throw away his race. Luckily, our top 4 able to get through, but MacArthur lost about 0.3 of a second there off of Robinson. As traffic continues to try and help facilitate those passes the best they possibly can. This is going to allow Ogle and Robinson a pretty healthy breakaway. At one point, they were half second up from MacArthur, but MacArthur and Rice very quickly closing that gap. Not wanting to put Ogle and Robinson out of striking distance. Oh, and we're going to have a caution come out late in the race. As we see Al Turner, Brian Glass have went off track. Joe Brown was involved in an incident as well. As that's not ideal. Brown finds himself pointing the wrong direction, and he takes a tow back to pit road. Let's see what happened. Well, let's back that up, because that was not good. The 76 tied up in that. It looks like Brown just got loose there. Yeah, just got loose, tries to correct it, swerves across the bow of the 76. Brian Glass also gets in that. Poor 76 machine of Turner, pulverized. Look at the spins. One more time for the fans at home. Yeah, poor Turner, nowhere he could go on that one. Brian Glass also going to have a little bit of damage, and unfortunately, I think Joe Brown, Al Turner may be done and out for the evening here, as that's going to reset our field, bring everybody, just about everybody, down pit road for our first caution of the evening. Well, looks like everybody taking 4 fresh tires and a full tank of gas. It'll be Josh Robinson, your race leader, coming out of pit road. He was just about a half second faster than Ogle in the box. Now it'll be Robinson, Ogle, MacArthur, Rice, and Hess, your top 5 as we restack the field. Larry Corey letting us know he had a little bit of PC problems at the very beginning of the race. He had to drop out just shy of lap 1. Now he's joined us in the spectator area, watching the shenanigans unfold out on track. We get a spattering of drivers come down pit road after getting back onto the lead lap. But we're getting them gridded up, double file as far back as the eye can see. Ogle and Robinson on your front row. MacArthur, Rice, your second row. Hess, and I believe Watts will be your third row as everybody shuffles around. 25 drivers on the lead lap. It looks about 30 drivers still out on track at this point. We've lost 6 so far due to mechanical issues, computer issues, and then some big old-fashioned crashes here. Pace car is in. And away we go. It'll be Ogle on the it's going to be Ogle on the high line, Robinson on the inside line. The two teammates of Robinson and Ogle have been split up slightly. But look at that, they're going to link back up, I think, here as MacArthur tries to charge from the inside line, trying to pinch off Rice's number 20 machine. It is currently Ford running first and second, Chevrolet running third through fifth. And We have to go back to Hoskins running 26, our current fastest Toyota Camry out on track. Robinson Ogle quickly putting the power down here. But MacArthur, Rice, and Hess going to stay right there with him. You're on board with Ogle. Old Liberace himself. Now it's going to be interesting. Now cold tires are loose here at Chicago. And we all know cautions breed cautions. We get the field stacked back up together. Suddenly you find yourself on a much freer race car. It's more likely to spin around on you. Let's see what the drivers can do as Ogle puts the pressure on Robinson for the race lead. As your top 5 drivers have already pulled a second gap over Greg McDaniel, running 6th with number 30 Chevrolet. Let's see. MacArthur has a whole lot of pressure from Rice as well as Hess here. Nobody willing to give each other any break. Everybody pushing forward hard and making some moves. Or at least trying to keep that forward momentum up. And the top 5 drivers still charging forward, 52 laps in. All right, Robinson Ogle pulling a little bit of gap over MacArthur. MacArthur still has Rice about 3/10 behind him. Hess 3/10 off the back of Rice. I think we're maybe slightly getting spread out here, but just like that, MacArthur's pulled back up to your 2 race leaders, Robinson and Ogle. MacArthur looks to the inside line. And here we go. MacArthur looked to the inside line of Robinson, charging back up towards the front. Taking over second place and doing so quite cleanly. So now it'll be Ogle, MacArthur, Robinson, Rice, and Hess, your current top 5. Will we see MacArthur put the pressure on Ogle? Or is the 83 machine going to be happy at letting that number 11 burn just a little bit more fuel? to try and get things set up for later in the race. Now these drivers will have to come down pit road at least once more, most likely around that lap 100 mark. But they're going to try and stretch it out as long as they can, so that way they have the least amount of fuel and the freshest tires as the run progresses late in the race. Ogle staying right up front, using every inch of the raceway. Now this may very well end up being a strategy race if these... Oh, I take that back. A little bit of contact between MacArthur and Ogle, your race leader. A bit of a love tap on the back left quarter panel of Ogle's number 11 machine. That will get him just unsettled enough for MacArthur to take over the race lead here. A whole lot of car control for speeds hitting just about 200 miles an hour. The top five has been ever changing over the duration of this race, not even to the halfway mark. And seeing some great racing is now it's MacArthur, Ogle, Robinson, Rice, and Hess, your top five. Now this top five drivers have pulled a 2.2 second gap over Copeland, who's just making his way onto the backstretch. Copeland has Lindsay about 4/10 behind them as the field really starting to separate here as the run progresses. Going a little bit further back to 9th place, Kevin Strandberg. He's got Greg McDaniel, Crank Bell, William Fletcher, Joey Buscemi all linked up with him, as all of these drivers still out on track looking for their career best finishes wherever they can find it. We still have 30 drivers out on track out of the 36 that started here. As Josh Robinson has company from Clint Rice, the number 20 machine, who's trying to move up into podium position. Looks like Ogle trying to answer back against MacArthur to retake the race lead. How will traffic come into play as your top five drivers making their way into turn 3 and 4? We're focusing on Ogle, the second place driver, the number 11 White Claw machine. But very shortly, it's going to be MacArthur in the 83 having to slice through traffic once more. There he goes, sliding up the inside line. And able to make it happen. Now, last week at Atlanta, we had 9 different leaders, 24 lead changes, and we went 4 cautions for 16 laps. Late into the race, we start seeing that caution flag come out a little bit more and more around the slippery Atlanta Motor Speedway. Wondering if Chicagoland might be similar as the drivers try and get that momentum built up. Willing to risk it a little bit, maybe a little bit more later in the race. for McArthur. McArthur currently second in points behind Eddie Jones. I don't believe Jones was able to make it out on track here today. McArthur in a good spot to gain some points. He's 25 points back from your current series leader. But Josh Robinson is also third in points and wants to get back up there after missing a couple of starts early on in the season. Now Robinson had 3 poles so far this season. I believe tonight would be his 4th. But still looking for that elusive first win. So far, Robinson's best finish of the season was at Phoenix, where he started second, finished second, and led 104 laps, but had a very clean race there at Phoenix. He only had 0, a whopping none incident points. So showing what it takes to be fast and clean out here at the OBRL Metro Ford Cup Series. Traffic once again coming into play. That's Hoskins on the high line next to your race leader, McArthur. McArthur hops in front of traffic to try and break the draft of Ogle's number 11 machine, but Ogle's going to stay right there with the 83. Hoskins goes high to allow the top 4 drivers through, nice and easy. As it looks like Ogle's gained about 3/10 over Robinson. Keep an eye out. These guys are absolute pros when it comes to fuel saving. Interesting to see. These guys have lost Andrew Hess, the 5th place driver. He's dropped all the way 2.3 seconds back in the number 54 machine. I wonder if Hess is seeing something these top 4 drivers don't, trying to take it easy on fuel and maybe see if he can do something a little bit different here. Oh, here we go. Ogle starting to press McArthur once more for the race lead. Not able to get the run he wanted through turns 1 and 2. That's going to allow Robinson and Rice to stack up right behind the second place driver of Tom Ogle in number 11. Traffic may be a factor, but we've seen Ogle. He wants to keep McArthur on his toes, keep showing that fast Canadian a wheel here, and trying to work up towards the front. Will Ogle be able to do it? Now, again, we believe the fuel window is going to open up in just about 22 laps as your race leaders cross the line. Around lap 100 is when we're expecting these guys to come down pit road for what could be their final time of the evening. Because we are expecting 58 to 63 laps of fuel out of these machines. So right around that lap 100 mark should signal, that they can make it till the end. But it's going to be interesting to see if that rings true, because Tom Ogle's been out trying to get out front for a while now as McArthur's getting lap after lap led. Ogle working the inside line against McArthur as we are at the halfway mark of today's main event. Side by side, it's going to be McArthur by 1/100th of a second. But Ogle's going to quickly answer into 1 and 2, slide up alongside McArthur. McArthur gaining about a half car length. Ogle has the line, but McArthur may have the momentum. McArthur holds on the lead, able to work that high groove just a little bit more, carry the speed around, especially on the older tires that they're on at this point. Drivers have been out on track with these newer tires for about 40 laps. Traffic still continuously a factor here in Chicagoland, but not been too much of an issue, thankfully, as we're once again on board with Ogle, trying to reel back in the 83 machine of McArthur. looked like that was Rice. Had to avoid drifting wide out of 4 into the trial, almost tagging that outside wall. It's a late in the run. Drivers trying to make the moves they can before they come down for their final fuel stop, the final planned fuel stop of the evening. Rice working so hard to try and get up here into victory lane in the final podium spot. Now Rice hasn't been running the Metro Ford Cup Series as often here as of late. It's showing his last race March 20th at Atlanta. I'm not sure if that's correct. Maybe if it got updated after he earned his double-digit number, or truthfully quite how that works. But in Atlanta, Rice was able to pick up a 4th after starting 2nd in the number 20 machine. And he's going to want to try and see if he can improve on that once more, get up into victory lane for the very first time this season, as he's racing with some absolute titans out on track. Oh, here we go. Rice trying to work the outside groove against Robinson. And Rice will put his way up into victory lane, or at least the 3rd place spot, the final podium spot. But he still has 70 laps left to go to hold on to it. Robinson known for his fuel saving. Now Robinson staying right there with Rice, not backing off the gas too much. So not necessarily going into prime time fuel saving mode. I'm very interested to see how this is going to shape up the longer the race goes on. Carl Burke has had some sort of issue. He takes the tow back to pit road as you're on board with Rice. A great shot of showing Ogle manhandling that number 11 White Claw machine around. A bit of an oxymoron. But that is going to give, I believe, McCarthy about a half-second lead here, as we've got somebody else off track. I think it's Strandberg. Able to rejoin the surface, but definitely sputtering a little bit there. As we focus back on Ogle, he's a half-second back from McCarthy, but linked up with Rice and Robinson. Are we going to see any of these drivers make any gutsy passes before the final pit stop of the evening, or is everybody going to be pretty content running single file now? What these top 4, I should say, definitely don't want to do is let McCarthy get too much of a lead here, lose his draft. As McCarthy's going to use lap traffic to his advantage, pick up the draft from those machines. what's going on ahead of your race leaders? We saw somebody careening across track. McArthur's going to check up as somebody was doing their absolute best to throw it away there. I can't tell if that was Hinchcliffe in the 50. Yes, it was Hinchcliffe with a wild ride. He gets in the back of, I believe, the 60. Oh, the race leaders are currently well within the vortex of danger. This has allowed the top four to bunch back up. McArthur, Ogle, Rice, Robinson, currently your top four with about a 3.8 second advantage over fifth place Andrew Hess. We think the fuel window is going to open up in the next 2 laps for these drivers. And we are going to have a caution to interrupt the party. Great timing, though, as I think the fuel window was just about to be open. Let's see what happened. Is Lloyd Moore involved in incident number 26? Looks like he gets a little bit loose, grabs the apron, and just not quite able to hold on to it, swapping back and forth. Oh, and absolutely impales himself on the outside wall. So this will be our second caution right in time for everybody to come down pit road, and they should be able to make it until the end on fuel. So let's see, everybody's going to take 4 fresh tires. All or possibly each other. Gonna get him gridded back up, double file. It's gonna be MacArthur, Robinson, your front row. Ogle and Rice, your second row. Hess and Jones. Jones is out on track, the number 14 machine. I misspoke earlier. Well, let's see what's going to happen here as we stack the field back up. 2 wide and about, I believe that's going to be about 12 rows deep. Just a little bit shy of 15 rows deep. We got 28 drivers still out on track here. 20 on the lead lap as the green flag flies. Away they go. Robinson on the inside line, MacArthur on the high line. Ogle took a peek at making it 3 wide, decided, you know what, not a good time for that, as looks like MacArthur will slot in as your race leader as he drops down in front of Robinson. But look at Rice also working the high line against Robinson. What's going on here with Team Miata as MacArthur, Rice, and Jones take over the top 3? Jones up 30 positions, now running 3rd after qualifying 33rd. I wonder if some of those Team Miata names and faces are a little bit worried about fuel mileage here as they quickly drop a little bit further back. Now, we were told the fuel window anywhere between 58 to 63 laps. So will MacArthur, who's leading the charge, have the fuel to make it all the way to the end, or is he going to find himself just 2 laps short without any fuel saving here? Now, his last time by was at 31.29, just 0.05 of a second off of his fastest lap time of the evening. I don't think MacArthur's too worried about fuel saving here. He is saying it's time to go. As he pulls a very quick 6/10 gap over Jones. Jones has worked his way all the way up to 2nd at this point, up 31 spots. Behind Jones is Robinson, Rice, and Hess rounding out your top 5. Ogle's dropped all the way back to 6th, the number 11 machine. But MacArthur still with a very healthy advantage over Jones. Jones has Robinson linked up right with him as we see Ogle, I believe, getting a little bit loose here as drivers start to follow him. That's Dale Copeland as well, having issues charging through the grass in the 55 machine. Able to hold on to it though. Great save. But Ogle, if he didn't have bad luck, wouldn't have any luck at all here. As now Robinson looks like he's going to put the pressure on Eddie Jones' number 14 machine. Here comes Robinson. Look at the inside line of Eddie Cajun Jones and the 14 side by side through 1 and 2. Your race leader McCarthy's got to be happy seeing that in the rearview mirror, knowing as the longer those two battle it out, the easier his day will be here. Wait to see if Jones pops up on the inside. But no, it looks like Robinson's going to get well and clear of the number 14 machine, moving up into second. Poor Ogle. Every time the night seems to be going in his favor, terrible, terrible things happen to the number 11 machine. His highest finish so far this season has been a fifth, 2 fifths actually, one at Atlanta, one at Auto Club, after Phoenix and Las Vegas was not kind to the number 11 machine. Rice trying to make a move up for third, against Robinson. MacArthur has pulled a 1 second gap off of Eddie Jones, who's retaken second. Rice was putting the pressure on Robinson, but now he's going to have company from Andrew Hess in the 54 machine. Hess looks down the low line as Rice takes it quite high. As you're on board with Clint Rice, watching Hess in the 54 machine slide on by. MacArthur still your race leader. Jones runs second, trying to find some time as Robinson charges up towards the front. Well, let's see. It looks like Jones having to wake up the pace a little bit as well with the pressure from Robinson. He's closed it down to 3/10 behind MacArthur. And let's go on board with Josh Robinson for a lap here at Chicagoland. Robinson charging around the track here at Chicago, but MacArthur and Jones holding on to the race lead for everything they've got. Now the big question is, this run continues at wide open paces. Will MacArthur have the fuel to make it all the way to the end? Or is he going to find himself 2 laps short? We've got Jack Monday joining us in the spectator area, the fan area, over on the YouTube side of things. Always good seeing Jack. As your top 3 drivers, MacArthur, Jones, Robinson have pulled a half-second advantage over Andrew Hess in the 54 machine. Hess still has company from Clint Rice in the number 20. And surprised to see Tom Ogles taken back over 7th place after that big moment early on in his fuel run. Look at this. Is Jones going to maybe put the pressure on McArthur? Now, McArthur and Jones, the two most winningest drivers so far this season, both with 2 wins each. So this could be a pretty heated battle if this continues to shape up. Less than 40 laps left to go here at the Metro Ford Cup Series. Gonna be interesting to see how things pan out, as it looks like Hess and Rice starting to catch back up to your top 3 drivers of McArthur, Jones, and Robinson. And again, McArthur and Jones looking to be the first drivers to make it 3 wins so far this season. Robinson, Hess, Rice looking for their very first win out here. Your top 5 drivers have pulled about a 1.3 second gap over 6, so still anybody's guess what's going to happen inside the top 5. And I do think the biggest concern is going to be if McArthur will have the fuel to run it all the way out to the end, or if he's going to find himself having to come down pit road under green flag conditions, which is the last thing the 83 machine wants right now. Jones right there with McArthur. Robinson following suit. Not trying to pressure the issue too early. Trying to see which of your friends you can get to burn up a little bit more tires early on the run. McArthur still has Jones breathing down his neck, but the two teammates, they work together here to keep those Team Miata drivers behind of Robinson and Hess. So not only is it a 4-car battle for the lead, it's also a 2-team battle between McArthur and Jones on Last Ditch Racing. Robinson and Hess, both Team Miata drivers. On board with Jones, watching McArthur bouncing around, slicing through traffic out of turn 4. Both drivers not wanting to lose too much momentum here because they know Robinson and Hess in very hot pursuit. Oh, still though, anybody's guess which of these top 5 drivers is going to be able to bring it home at the end. Now, in races very previously, we saw late race cautions throw a major wrench into things that kind of took away all the steam that some of the long run drivers were able to build up. As we've got 30 laps left to go, hopefully we can keep it relatively clean out here today. But we will see. We've had 2 cautions thus far. And it would not be surprising, I don't think, to see another late race caution. We're going to pull up the live timing and scoring tower to the left side of your screen. We're going to wait for that caution bar to clear. There we go. So you can spot where your favorite racer is. And we've got 20 drivers still on the lead lap here today. McArthur, Jones, Robinson, Hess, and Rice rounding out the top 5. Looks like Robinson getting a little bit of steam built up in the 23 machine. Wonder if he's getting ready to try and make a pass on Jones and the number 14. Now again, Jones, our current hard charger, the self-proclaimed professional rookie, is up 31 spots here tonight after a dismal qualifying. But still able to crawl his way up with just the right amount of cautions to work well in his favor. Oh, but we've got somebody off track. It looks like it's going to be Glass in the 87 Kodak machine. No caution. We'll keep it going here. Let's see what happened to Glass to have that big moment. Oh, just gets a little bit loose. Does he keep it off the wall? He does not. But despite the damage, a great save from Glass as he's going to limp it back to pit road, try and get some repairs done to get back out there and try and salvage an evening. It'll be 25 laps left to go this time by for McArthur. He's still got Jones right behind him, as well as Robinson and Hess. Rice trying to crawl back a little bit closer as they navigate traffic here. But it gets exciting for everybody when those drivers get off the line, get way up high into the marbles. As we've seen a few snap loose conditions ruin the night of several drivers so far tonight. McArthur still leading the charge, but a whole lot of traffic that could throw a wrench into things here. On board with McArthur, throw it in deep into turn 3 and 4. Hit by traffic, has to be careful not to drift up despite the car naturally wanting to do so. Jones stays right there with him. They've pulled about a 3/10 advantage over Robinson and Hess. Robinson trying to make that move on Jones if the opportunity presents itself. Now, although Robinson desperately wants that first win, patience may bode well for the standings as he's currently third in points. But he doesn't want Jones and McArthur to gain even more ground in the standings. As Robinson sits in third, Jones, who's second on track, is first in points. And McArthur, your race leader, looking to work his way past Jones in the point standings. So it may very well be a mad dash here. McArthur's pulled about 3/10 over Jones. Jones has company from Robinson. Traffic still not interjecting themselves too badly into the party here, the battle for the lead. I say that, look at that, here comes Clint Rice on the outside line, the number 20. Trying to take over the third place spot from Robinson. Rice working that outside groove, trying to pick up the draft from Eddie Cajun Jones. Is but decided. McArthur has pressure from Jones. Rice, who has moved up to third, has pressure from Robinson. Things gonna get very frantic here. Robinson putting the pressure back onto Rice. Here comes Hess as well. Rice with a big bobble. Robinson's gonna start charging forward again. Oh, the top five is not certain with 15 laps left to go. Are we going to see the number 23 machine of Robinson charge back up front? Will Hess have some way to interject himself in the party? And does Rice have anything left in reserve after he had a little bit, I believe, contact with the outside wall, which forced him to drop back to fifth? McArthur still out front, leading around his good, longtime friend of Eddie Jones. Jones staying right there on the back of the 83 machine, running second out on track. He wants to try and pull a gap back from Robinson, who's just 2/10 off of Jones. As it'll be 10 laps left to go this time by. McCarthy getting a whole lot of laps led, but again, the question, does he have the fuel to get till the end? Or is he going to find himself just a couple laps short as he's been out front for a very long time, that 83 machine? Not having the luxury of any other drivers pushing the air out of the way for his Chevrolet. Hoskins goes high to allow the top 5 drivers by as quickly as he possibly can help to make that happen for him. Well done. Traffic has been absolutely awesome out here tonight. Everybody being very courteous, trying to get out of the way of the race leaders if they are able to. Thankfully, your race leaders also haven't ran into too many lapped drivers that are kind of in their own battle, because then everything goes out the window as far as trying to get out of the way goes. But it's interesting as well to see how your lead lap drivers are trying to use the draft out of those a lap down in front of them to help pull their machines up just a little bit faster. It's 8 laps left to go here at Chicago. Well, we got somebody bouncing the wall in front of MacArthur. As the 41 of Crank Bell, who's running 18th on track. We've only got 17 drivers left on the lead lap here. As MacArthur, Jones, Robinson, Hess, Rice, your top 5 have been in a league of their own. Now Hess has fallen off slightly. He's about 4/10 back from Robinson. So with 7 laps left to go, we'll see that 54 machine of Hess or the 20 of Rice can pull back up there somehow. As MacArthur puts Fletcher a lap down. We're going to go on board with Josh Robbins' 23 machine. Right behind the Mississippi back number 14 of Eddie Jones. Oh, looks like Hess getting back in the party as well. Jones looks like he's going to put some pressure on MacArthur, looking down low, 4 laps left to go. Now if Jones and MacArthur spend too much time racing here, that's going to allow the 2 Team Miata drivers of Robinson and Hess to maybe make a final charge. Only 3 laps left to go here at Chicago. It's MacArthur, Jones, Robinson, Hess running nose to tail. Hess, I said, it's about 3/10 back from Robinson. Both MacArthur and Jones looking to get their 3rd win of the season. Robinson looking to get in the top spot for the first time. MacArthur's going to be close on fuel here as he's been leading the charge the duration of the run. And look at this, here comes Robinson. trying to work the outside line against Jones. Jones says, no, sir, I'm going to shut the door there. But Robinson's going to try once more on the outside line. Not quite able to make it happen. Jones also going to charge forward here. What's it going to be as the white flag will be out this time by McCarthy. Very defensive on the bottom line. Coming out of turn 4. Hopefully traffic not a factor. You see somebody pulling off down the apron. White flag is out, and now Jones looks to the inside line. We're going to go 3 wide just ever so briefly. Jones, looks like he was going to have it through turns 1 and 2, but here comes Robinson going to try and slingshot around. Robinson goes back low. McCarthy holding on to the race lead with Jones in hot pursuit. What's it going to be through turn 3 and 4? Who's going to have a shot at it? It's McCarthy, Jones, Robinson coming out of turn 4. It'll be a drag race to the finish line. Robinson looks to the inside line of Jones. McCarthy is going to have it here tonight. And it's going to be McCarthy, Jones, and Robinson, your top 3. Great job to see these drivers putting on a show here tonight. McCarthy, Jones, Robinson. Very clean racing. As it's going to be McCarthy once more burning it down for the 3rd time this season of the Metro Ford Cup Series. Putting it on the top spot, making it the first driver so far this season to bring home 3 wins. And it's been a long spell. It's been since the season openers of Daytona and Auto Club that McCarthy was able to make that happen. So he's going to be quite pleased here. As let's try and get our drivers up here into the broadcast waiting room, waiting on Dwayne McCarthy, Eddie Jones, Josh Robinson to make their way up into the booth. Up first, we've got Josh Robinson, number 23 machine. A great run out there, Josh. It looks like, I don't know if it was maybe tire management, but what made it so tough to make any moves there at the end?
Oh, this car, it's real schizophrenic. It seems like it's great, and then all of a sudden it's like someone kicks the left rear. It and it just wants to come around on you.
Yeah, we saw that a couple of times from other drivers where the caution narrowly avoided coming out. I don't know how to describe it. It almost looks like the car is binding up like a spring and then suddenly lets loose throughout some of the corners.
It really is like that. It's almost like if you get fully off the gas, all the weight comes off the rear, and it just doesn't have traction.
Well, able to bring it home. We saw you what looked like a little bit of fuel saving. Were you guys at all worried you weren't going to be able to make it till the end at wide open pacing?
We were pretty good. I knew I could do about 62 in a draft and 59 without a draft, so I knew I just needed to be cool for a couple laps, and I'd be fully good on the fuel run there.
Well, always great run out of that number 23 machine, really showing the long run capabilities. Thankfully, only 2 cautions tonight, so able to get that charge going forward. Now, Josh, who would you like to give a shout out to or quick thanks to that helped get you up here in the podium booth?
Yeah, my teammates, you learn so much just by bouncing ideas off of each other, and then shout out to the whole league. This is a tough car to drive, and only getting 2 cautions is pretty good. And then congrats to Mick second on his first win at Chicagoland this week.
Well, awesome. Josh, always a great time talking to you, man. And once again, good to have you back up here in the interview room.
Appreciate it, James. Good broadcast as always.
Thank you, Josh. That was Josh Robinson bringing home a third. Up next, we got Eddie Jones, number 14 machine. Eddie, some heavy battling going on with your teammate there, McCarthy, towards the end.
Yeah, didn't want to do anything crazy. I'd come from a long way back, so just wanted to get a solid top 5. But he left me a little room on the bottom, so I had to try it on the last lap, but just not enough grip down there to get by him.
Now, Eddie, yeah, we saw you starting 33rd. Did you receive a penalty tonight? Was it a bad qualifying? What happened?
I looped it on my lap in qualifying and got disqualified, so started 33rd.
Well, still a good comeback story. Very, very close to getting your third win of the season, and up there with some big titans: MacArthur, Robinson, Hess, Rice, Ogle. A lot of fast guys. It seemed like you guys could really push each other without worrying too much of ruining somebody else's race tonight.
Yeah, 2 weeks in a row, though, I've had to come from so far back, and then you finally get up there with those top 5 or 6, and they're running at such a different speed. It's almost like the last part of the race I have to learn how to drive the car that much harder just to maintain with them. But hey, fun times.
Yeah, fun times, great racing, always good having you up here in the booth. Getting really fast in the next gen car, so a lot of fun for me to watch. Now, Eddie, who you want to give a quick shout out to that helped you get up here in victory lane?
Well, I didn't get a lot of racing in this week, so I got to thank all my teammates. They helped me a lot getting the car going and all that stuff. So got to thank them, and of course, I always got to thank Ogle. I mean, that's just another position to pass. So I always got to thank Tom Ogle.
Bless his heart. Well, Eddie, always a good time talking to you, my friend, and congratulations on a very well-earned second tonight.
Thank you, bud. Good job.
Thank you, sir. That was Eddie Jones finishing second. Up next, we got Dwayne McCarthy, the fast Canadian, making it the first 3-time winner of the Metro Ford Cup Series. Not a bad day at the racetrack, my friend.
Thanks, James. Yep, not a bad day at all. Really, really happy with that. The Bass Pro Shop Camaro was a rocket tonight.
Yeah, it seemed like it was kind of anybody's guess who was going to get it. The top 4, top 5, staying bunched up within a second of each other for hundreds of laps so far tonight. Were you expecting the race to be so clean at Chicagoland and how tight that front pack was?
You know, it was. I expected it. This race typically can go green. And these guys are great drivers, so I expected that. But the car was a handful, so I expected maybe a few more incidents, but everybody was so closely matched. But I think because the car was so edgy, it kind of calmed us down a little bit, especially throughout the first 2 tire runs. So
Now, talking about the runs at the very end, we know coming into the broadcast night, the fuel window, 58, 63 laps, depending on what was going on track. You were pretty much up front the entire duration after that final caution for, I think it was going to be 60 some odd laps to make it till the end. Were you at all worried about fuel as the guys behind you were tucking in behind you?
yeah, I didn't have enough fuel up until about 15 laps to go. I started saving about 10 laps into that. I was on the radio. Eddie, my teammate, was right behind me. I was telling him I don't think I got enough fuel, but I just hoped that the slowing pace would get me just enough. And I'm not sure how much I had left. I couldn't even do a full burnout there, so I did not have very much fuel.
Now, speaking of good old Eddie Jones, it looked like when you backed off the pace, your teammate wasn't giving you many breaks there.
No, that's a cool cat there. He's very experienced. He knows what he's doing. He kept just enough pressure on there that I had to stay honest. I couldn't save fuel. He knew what was up. But he's a great teammate. He cut me a break there with about 3 laps to go. I think I almost wiped out the whole field there, and he cut me a break. He's a hell of a racer. He's a great teammate.
And just an all right guy, too. So good to see everybody up here in Victory Lane. A lot of the usual names and faces. But again, my friend, the first 3-time winner of the season, I know you're pumped, and you got the privilege of the final send-offs of the evening. Who would you like to give a shout to that helped you get up here today?
Just want a quick shout out to our sponsor, Metro Ford Chicago, Patrick Milligan there, emetroford.com, really supporting the series. Thank you very much, Patrick, year over year. Kimball, Victory Lane Sports, our other league sponsors, all the admins that help run this league. My team, Last Ditch Racing, really, really couldn't do what we do if we weren't doing it all together. So, and then all the other guys up there too, lots of good, clean running throughout the entire race. So congratulations to everybody. Everybody in the top 35 did a hell of a job today. It was a good time, and thanks to you too for putting these on.
Always my pleasure, Dwayne. Great job talking to you. Congratulations on the win tonight, and hope to see you back up here next week.
Yeah, I would love that. It's not going to happen though. You won't see me up here for a little while. Uh, yeah, not my best tracks coming up, but
Well, we'll keep an eye on it 'cause it's always fun to watch.
you betcha, buddy. Take care.
You as well. And that was Dwayne McCarthy finishing on the top spot here at the Metro Ford Cup Series at Chicagoland, where it was Eddie Jones, Josh Robinson rounding out the podium after some great racing all the way through. As always, I'm your host, James East. Appreciate you all so much being here on a Sunday afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you at the same time, same place next week here at the OBRL Metro Ford Cup Series. Have a great night, everyone.